I I do believe. Oh man, Oscar De La Hoya cooks Vergil Ortiz, and the ruling is in his favor. In this video, I'll break down everything you must know regarding the fight, what's happening, and spoiler alert, Vergil Ortiz Jr. and Jaron Boots Ennis is in serious jeopardy. What up, Fight World? It's your boy Ego, and I'm back with some more boxing. Now, you knew this video was coming. I thought it was going to come on Friday. I had to wait a little bit, but we here now. So I'm going to take you through it, and we'll get through it. Make sure y'all come in and smash the like button.
It looks like Jaron Boots Ennis will have to move on while Vergil Ortiz Jr.'s career remains on hold. Golden Boy Promotions earned a huge victory in its ongoing legal battle with Ortiz when a Nevada judge granted the company's motion to compel arbitration. Furthermore, Monday's ruling also denied the unbeaten WBC interim junior middleweight titleist and manager, Rick Meridian, from independently negotiating with third parties prior to arbitration. The latter was determined hours after Ortiz filed an emergency motion to dismiss the temporary restraining order, TRO, filed by Golden Boy. ProBox TV CEO Gary Jonas on Lester Martinez's rise on road to March 21st, WBC interim title fight.
Now, did y'all hear that? Judge Silva in Nevada gave Golden Boy, aka Oscar De La Hoya, an injunction, the victory. In addition, today's ruling denied that the manager, Rick Meridian, from independently negotiating with third parties prior to the outcome of this arbitration. Let's keep
While
going.
Ortiz attempts to argue application of agency principles, this argument requires that I find Golden Boy's decision to sue Meridian as constituting waiver. Nevada District Judge Christina Silva stated in a final ruling obtained by BoxingScene. But Ortiz fails to meaningfully analyze how those principles apply here. Ortiz also fails to cite points and authorities to support his position that Golden Boy's decision to sue Meridian waives its right to invoke arbitration here. Even so, this argument has been raised and rejected in other courts. Thus, I also grant Golden Boy's request for interim injunctive relief to allow for meaningful arbitration. So I hereby order that Ortiz may not negotiate or contract with third parties for future fights before the arbitrator addresses the parties' disputes set forth in this action.
Judge Silva has granted Golden Boy Promotions, Oscar, I do believe, De La Hoya, an injunction, meaning they have to have a meaningful arbitration. The judge says, and I quote, "So I hereby order that Vergil Ortiz may not negotiate or contract with third parties, aka Matchroom, Eddie Hearn, DAZN, Zuffa Boxing, for third parties for future fights before the arbitrator addresses the parties' disputes set forth within the action." Meaning the Boots fight is cooked. Exactly what Boxingego told y'all. But hey, I'ma keep going.
Even so, this argument has been raised and rejected in other courts. Thus, I also grant Golden Boy's request for interim injunctive relief to allow for meaningful arbitration. So I hereby order that Ortiz may not negotiate or contract with third parties for future fights before the arbitrator addresses the parties' disputes set forth in this action. The ruling came 10 days after both parties appeared before Judge Silva to present final arguments to determine whether the case should head to arbitration or be dismissed outright. The February 20th hearing was crucial for Ortiz, Matchroom Boxing, and DAZN in its efforts to proceed with a desired Ortiz-Ennis clash originally targeted for this spring. Those plans are not only shot to sunshine, but it remains unclear when the matter can be revisited as long as Ortiz is not permitted to move without resolution to this case, unless the unbeaten Texan is willing to reconcile or settle with Golden Boy. It's a significant ruling, given the on-the-record confirmation that Matchroom Boxing, Ennis's promoter, was prepared to enter a 3-fight, 8-figure deal with Ortiz to include the above-mentioned matchup. Monday's decision puts that arrangement on ice, if not nullifying the agreement altogether.
Bro, it nullifies it. How you gonna move on with Eddie Hearn? How them boys gonna win? This is grown man B.I. get you wrote in the triage. How them boys gonna win?
Ortiz's legal team filed a lawsuit earlier this year, citing breach of contract and interference with economic advantage. The contention on the Ortiz side was that the promotional contract with Golden Boy expired once the company's output deal with DAZN expired this past December 31st. Section 10G of Ortiz's contract calls for termination of said agreement if Golden Boy's distribution relationship with DAZN terminates, providing in relevant part as follows. Promoter's distribution relationship with DAZN is a material incentive for Boxer to enter into this agreement. In the event that promoter's distribution relationship with DAZN terminates for any reason, and promoter does not have an agreement in principle in place for an exclusive distribution relationship with an alternative broadcaster, then Boxer shall have the right to terminate this agreement.
So in Vergil Ortiz's contract, that's how it was written. So Vergil and Rick Meridian, they thought they had a get out of jail free pass, a hall pass, because Golden Boy hadn't wrapped up a deal. Their contract expired, I believe, December 31st, 2025. And as of January 1st, they weren't in an exclusive partnership with DAZN, right? Oscar De La Hoya was still doing one-off events, scheduling fights, one-offs on DAZN, but they didn't have deal points for an actual like extenuation or like extended renewal contract, like long-term. Like we just heard Eddie Hearn did, I think, a 5-year renewal with DAZN. So that's a long-term. Zuffa Boxing did one with Paramount. That's a long-term. You know what I mean? And because this hadn't been situated and they weren't happy with how De La Hoya was moving, apparently Vergil Ortiz's team jumped out the window and sued Oscar and started negotiating with Zuffa and Eddie Hearn and trying to get the Boots fight done on their own.
Where Golden Boy gained its victory is in the wording of that clause. Ortiz's team mistook the expiration of the deal rather than taking note of the specific wording. Relationship, not contract.
I try to tell y'all, when I was breaking this down, oh my gosh, bro. I am the best in the business and it's not even close. I told you there's no one that's matching me when it comes to this boxing. When I talked about, the videos are still up, by the way. I told you, I was like, this looks shaky from Team Ortiz. Now, a lot of people, they disagree with me because they're fans, AKA man fans, AKA they don't know what the is going on. All they care about, if you're a fan, all you care about is, I want to see the Boots fight with Vergil Ortiz, so I don't care about the business. But I literally specifically told you guys this in that video. Without the business being attended to and situated, there is no fight. That's why I never got hyped for Boots versus Vergil Ortiz fight, because this was a serious matter, and Golden Boy said they were willing to fight tooth and nail to have an outcome that made sense to them. Now De La Hoya is taken to social media, right? You see that? Justice prevails. And he targeted, or he tagged Vergil Ortiz, DAZN, and Rick Meridian, and Eddie Hearn. So De La Hoya has won the very first battle, right? So in layman's terms, because some people don't understand the courtroom jargon. So let your boy Ego, who's been right every step of the way, let me continue to cook. Judge Silva of Nevada, where this all was filed, has set forth an injunction. Vergil Ortiz cannot pursue with a third party outside of Golden Boy, right? If Golden Boy gets a deal done with the Boots fight, that's something different. But he is not permitted right now to sign to Eddie Hearn for 3 fights, to do a one-off for Boots for 1 fight. No. Now the next step of the legal process is an arbitration where they mediate and they try to come to terms and, so we don't know how long that will last. You know what I mean? Wilder pretty much had to do this with Tyson Fury. Tyson Fury tried to skip out and say, I don't owe you no rematch. And Wilder had other plans. He was like, no, you do owe me a rematch. And they had to battle it. It's pretty much what's happening here. So
Golden Boy pointed to its 2 dates on the calendar post-contract. Its January 16th show and the upcoming March 14th DAZN show from Honda Center in Anaheim, California. Furthermore, DAZN COO Ed McCarthy, in his own fumbled attempt to support Ortiz via written declaration, admitted on record that DAZN remains open to seeking to agree and enter into a long-term distribution agreement with GBP on commercially reasonable terms, whether or not GBP has Mr. Ortiz under contract.
Now, remember my initial video breaking down this paperwork where I told you Ed McCarthy, he's trying to advocate to push forward the Vergil Ortiz Boots fight, but he overtalked and he has a quote that actually hurt him. That's exactly what this article is telling you about. He said that we are willing to work with Golden Boy regardless of if they have Vergil Ortiz or not. But in doing so, you done effed up. You done effed up, right? You done effed up because the contract the loophole that Vergil Ortiz and Rick Marinigan, what they thought they could get out of is they thought, hey, if you don't have a renewed deal with DAZN, we're out and we could leave, right? But the wording, these companies, they write, there are certain legalese and it's written a certain type of way, right? So it allows for interpretation. It says if the relationship changes. It didn't say, hey, if cut and dry, if Golden Boy contract expires and if a new contract is not formed in 7 days, then you're a free agent. That's not what it said. So Golden Boy argued their case and they won. And DAZN speaking up, they actually made it worse.
McCarthy also noted that DAZN is aware that following the filing of proceedings by Mr. Ortiz against GBP and immediately prior to the recent court order, Mr. Ortiz was negotiating and close to executing an agreement with Matchroom Boxing to fight Mr. Ennis on April 18, 2026 in an event to air on DAZN. Both statements were made while confirming Golden Boy's claim that DAZN was in talks with the promotional company since late 2025 to work out a new deal. McCarthy confirmed that a deal was still not in place, meant to support Ortiz's claim, but instead bolstered Golden Boy's argument that there still exists a relationship, however dysfunctional at the moment. Meanwhile, the court did not fully buy the claim from Ortiz's legal team that Golden Boy's filed counter lawsuit against Meridian waives its right to invoke arbitration. In fact, the court said that the case is fit to be presented before an arbitrator. The totality of Golden Boy's actions does not indicate that it waived its right to arbitration, explained Silva. Rather, its actions are consistent with its right to enforce the arbitration provision of the agreement. Accordingly, I grant Golden Boy's motion to compel arbitration. Further, because I find that this action is arbitrable, injunctive relief is necessary to preserve the status quo. The ruling forces Matchroom Boxing to take the next step in advancing the career of its fighter.
So basically, if Boots ain't fighting, Boots ain't fighting Vergil next.
It is further ordered that Golden Boy's motion to dismiss is denied. It is further ordered that Ortiz's emergency motion is granted in part and denied in part, as set forth in this order.
So the bottom line is this. They got to have an arbitration in order to figure this out. And Vergil Ortiz is stuck in the mud until that. Bro, I am the GOAT of boxing talk in the digital space. Deal with it. This is exactly what I told you. Y'all got hyped up. Oh, man, we want to see the fight. Bro, I don't care about that. It looked fishy, and now the court pretty much sided with Golden Boy, at least gave Golden Boy some breathing room. Now they have to figure it out, as opposed to, like, Vergil thought he was just going to hop on the next train and go straight to Matchroom and straight to the booth fight. And I told you that it didn't even make sense, right? It wasn't like cut and dry, he a free agent. So Notice Canelo had the big boy lawyers, right? Because when Canelo said there was problems with Golden Boy, he got out his deal, right? But notice Vergil Ortiz paperwork ain't set up in the same manner, because if it were, the judge probably would have messed with him, you know what I mean? And said, hey, everything you said makes sense. What Golden Boy presented didn't make no sense. So this is a huge L, a big L like Harlem for Vergil Ortiz. You tried it. You and Rick Morrigan, right, thought you could just leave Golden Boy in the dust, go work with Eddie Hearn. And then this is what happened. And De La Hoya warned Rick Morrigan. He was like, this is what happens when you got a manager and he trying to do the promoter's job. So now it's all backwards. And you didn't get your way. You didn't get only thing you did is fracture the relationship with Golden Boy and not get the Boots fight and waste everybody's time. And now you're not in the clear to move on. And we don't know how long this is going to take now. So if Rick Morrigan was truly concerned, right? Peep this. If he was truly concerned about his fighter and getting his fighter active, because they're like, oh, we want to fight, blah, blah, blah. Now that things didn't go your way and Golden Boy won this round in the courts, and they were granted the arbitration and an injunction, you've further pushed out Vergil Ortiz's assumed return date. How did you not? Because unless you drop everything and say, hey, all right, we're cool, we still want to work with Golden Boy, then this could last some time. Because I remember Wilder and Tyson Fury, there was some back and forth. It took a minute to get things sorted. It wasn't like we talked for an hour and everything was good. So if Vergil Ortiz wanted, bro, I told you the kid was moving funny. I told you, and y'all didn't want to listen to me. Now you out on the sidelines even longer until this is resolved. And that's why De La Hoya talking about justice is prevails or whatever. Because you tried it. You really tried to leave Oscar in the dust when he built up your whole career, which always seemed weird to me. You had DAZN trying to co-sign and DAZN trying to back you. And a lot of what they said got used against them. And now you got to go through this next step. So I'll continue to break it down, but the Boots and Vergil fight, as far as I'm concerned, is cooked, because can't nothing happen without Golden Boy's approval or without this arbitration actually having a date, the two sides argue. Like, bottom line is an arbitration is like a mediator. Both people got to kind of come to terms. If Golden Boy feels pretty much this, if Golden Boy feels you're trying to leave them in the dust where they don't get paid off of you, they're probably not going to agree to anything. You see what I'm saying? Like, if you're like, hey, we want to walk free, we don't want to pay you, and we want to sign to Eddie Hearn, they're not going with that. And it looks like Golden Boy's paperwork is pretty tight to the point where you can't just walk, which is what I told y'all from the beginning. But y'all were so fixated on wanting to see what you want to see that you just completely disregarded Golden Boy. And I told you, I was like, Oscar got a point. Go watch my videos. Go watch the old videos. So, yeah, Vergil Ortiz thought he was Canelo. And he thought he was going to easily get out this and go make money with other people. And Rick Morrigan would be the hero. You know what I mean? Like, oh, look, I got you a $20 million deal. Try again, buddy. Subscribe.